Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. My name is Steven, and this is Above the Table. Playing D&D or other TTRPGs can be an incredibly rewarding experience. But let's be honest, we've all made mistakes at the table. So today we're going to talk about some of the common mistakes that players can make and how to avoid them so that you can get the most out of your games. And I just want to start off by saying, if you've fallen into making any of these mistakes before, there's nothing wrong with that. This video isn't a place of judgment. Most of these things are either things that I myself have done or I've experienced through others in some way and learned over time the hard way. This is just meant to serve as a list of helpful things to consider when we're thinking about how we play at our games, not some hardline rule about how you have to play. So without further ado, let's get into it. Making a character that is built just for you and not built with the game or session in mind. First up, don't make a character that doesn't match the session or setting and that needs to be convinced to get involved. You want to create a character that fits the campaign and is ready to be part of the action. If your character needs to be dragged into every adventure, it slows the game down and frustrates everyone else. Now, there will be times where certain characters will have conflict on what their next move is or what to do, and this is fine and natural to storytelling. You just want to avoid being dead weight that the party has to drag everywhere. If you really want that form of interaction, make a character who is narcoleptic or something, and provide a narrative reason to be drug around everywhere, hogging the spotlight. Next, let's talk about hogging the spotlight. Tabletop games are a group game. It's part of why getting a game together can be so hard at times. It often requires many people coming together and giving up their time to tell a story together and roll some dice. More now than ever in life, time is not cheap, and so many of us have so little of it that is free, and as a collective we need to respect that. Everyone deserves to have their chance to shine. If you're dominating every scene, it can make other players feel more than just left out, and can even create resentment. So make sure to share the space. Try to help create moments for others to shine, both individually or as a group. But on the other side of the spectrum, being afraid of the spotlight. Being afraid of the spotlight can be just as tricky. The last thing we ever want to do for our characters is to become the underserved side character that didn't receive enough screen time. Like mentioned before, helpful party members may help provide situations for your character to shine, but at the end of the day, it is up to you to take the reins and take action as your character. Don't be afraid to step up. You are just as much as part of your table as everyone else. Your opinion is no less valid, your ideas are not of a lesser quality of any other players, and you never know when you might just have the one unique right idea. Asking to make rules instead of prompting them. Now, what is an example of this? Instead of saying, "Can I roll perception?" try narrating your actions. For example, I scan the room for any hidden doors or traps, or I take a closer look at the desk and its contents to see if I can find anything that pertains to our investigation. This makes the game feel more immersive. Taking actions like this places our character into the game and gets them moving around and interacting with the narrative. This works when referring to your character in first or third person. You do not have to act out your character in person at the table to achieve this effect. This also provides more time for other characters to consider their actions and for the DM to potentially move things around, consider DCs, or even just unforeseen actions in the moment. Not discussing goals, likes, or dislikes as they change throughout the game. Communication is essential. Not discussing your goals, likes, or dislikes as they can change throughout the game can lead to misunderstandings and eventually frustrations or fallout. Let your DM and your fellow players know what's on your mind, so everyone can stay on the same page. It's important that not only our characters have similar goals, that way they can work together, but also the group above the table. The group should discuss feedback on how things are going for them within the game, both as a player and their character? Are there things that they wish to work on better, or things they want to incorporate more? What are things that the players have found the most fun? What about the least fun? There are many ways to do this, either as a group or with one-on-one conversations, or even a mixture of both. And make sure that the DM is part of these conversations and what they're finding that they like and dislike as well. Communication is key in any form of relationship, and all aspects of your interpersonal interactions can benefit when you work on these kinds of things. Not being punctual in correspondence around the game or scheduling. Now let's talk about punctuality. Not being punctual in correspondence or scheduling can really disrupt the process of running or preparing or even scheduling the game. Now listen, I'm not saying you need to sit at your phone or computer and wait hand and foot on your fellow players or DM, but if correspondence is needed for scheduling or something involving the game, like your character or something involving their backstory, make sure to take the time out and give a response in some fashion when you can, even if at first you have to respond and just confirmed that you received the message and intend to more thoroughly respond later if what's needed from you is a little bit more involved. You never know what small window in a scheduling decision may save a canceled session, or just how important one small piece of information or something with your character may be to the progression of prep. Whatever it is, try not to leave others on red, sitting at a table that's not for you just so you can play. Sitting at the table that's not for you just because you want to play can lead to all kinds of issues. If the vibe or the game style doesn't match what you're looking for, it's okay to find a better fit. It's not really all that uncommon that people who get along in many ways might not gel at a tabletop game. Just don't waste the time of yourself or others when you see signs of it not working out. If communication doesn't seem to help, keep those bridges unburnt and find something better for yourself. Not having a solid understanding of your character sheet. Having a solid understanding of your character sheet is fundamental. Not having a solid grasp of it slows down the game. Take time to learn it. Ask questions of your fellow players, your DM, or the community, and familiarize yourself with your character's capabilities. Now, that's not to say you need to memorize your character sheet, but keep a tally of some of your unique offerings through your inventory, spells, features. This can not only help increase your contribution, but also avoid the need to deep dive into your character sheet, slowing the game down every time the party looks to you for the next point of action. Being afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of failure. Tabletop games are about storytelling, and some of the most memorable moments can be moments of failure. Moments when your character rolls a natural 1 can be just as an impactful moment and as fun as when they roll a natural 20. If you're willing to embrace it, it can truly open up a lot of options. Failure also opens a pathway for other players to engage with one another in an encounter. If my character fails at something, another character can intervene and try to influence the outcome. This builds camaraderie in the game, and at the table, there's nothing better than overcoming a difficult challenge together as a group. When more people get to participate, it makes everyone feel more integral to the game and leads to better immersion and a deeper investment in the whole session. Not working as a team. If you're only looking out for yourself, you're missing the point. And if this is what you want, there are tons of other great options for solo role-playing games. Or you may even be able to locate a DM for some one-on-one game. But either way you see the game, whether it be as a collaborative storytelling experience, or your table is more of a casual fantasy board game, all forms of group tabletop games both require and benefit from solid teamwork. Not taking notes. I know it sounds basic, but not taking notes can really hinder your ability to stay engaged and remember key details. Tabletop games are often a story-driven game, and a lot of information is thrown at you over the course of a session. Plot points, NPC names, locations, riddles, clues. It's all essential to the game, and keeping track of it helps keep the game running. Things like this might even affect your ability to be successful in things you're trying to get after, and relying on your memory from every session is very risky, especially when sometimes we have breaks where weeks or even months might pass between games. Even if all you ever have the time and the ability for is to make simple bullet points, every little bit will help. Different people take different notes, and this adds to the sum of the party's information. Every bit of contribution to this information counts. Trying to win. Here's the thing. Tabletop games aren't about winning or losing. It's not like a board game or a video game where there's a clear victory condition. You can't win at tabletop games. Some players come into the game thinking their character needs to be the most powerful, always succeed, and never make any mistakes. But that mindset misses the whole point of the game. The purpose of tabletop games is to tell a good story and have a good time while doing it. Trying to win can lead to hogging the spotlight, or even worse, undermining your team. The best sessions I've ever had were the ones where things didn't go as planned, where the players improvised after failure and adapted and just had fun in the moment. So if you're coming into D&D or any other TTRPG thinking you need to win every fight, outshine the rest of your group, take a step back. The goal isn't to win, it's to have a good time, to tell a great story, and enjoy the journey with your fellow players. It's when we do this that the successes follow on their own, only paying attention on your turn. Look, I get it, during the rare times I get to play, often this can actually be one of my struggles. Combat, roleplay, all of these things can get long, and it can be easy to zone out when you're not actively rolling dice or making decisions, but tabletop games are collaborative games. And if you're only engaged when the spotlight's on you, you're missing out on a lot. Not only just for yourself, but for the entire party. When you're not paying attention to what's happening outside of your turn, you lose track of the action. You might miss important details or moments that could even affect your character's choices. Staying engaged between turns isn't just about being polite. It's about being part of the story the entire time. When you're invested in what's happening, you contribute more to the game. You make better decisions, and you get more out of the experience. If your group finds this especially hard, taking more frequent breaks, or even just playing shorter sessions, having some form of fidget or reducing distraction around the table can all be ways to help tackle this problem, as well as the many different variant homebrew rules that the community has proposed for speeding up different things like certain challenges, combat, or roleplay. Not asking questions. If you're not entirely sure, just ask. Everyone was new once, everyone had questions, and sometimes you might actually think of something that the people you're playing with haven't before. You might not realize when you ask a question, you're helping everyone at the table. Sometimes the question you might have might be something that other players were wondering too, but didn't speak up about it. Or you might ask something that leads to a discussion or a clarification that benefits the whole party. Your curiosity or confusion could unlock a new understanding for the group, or even help the DM notice something that they hadn't considered. There are no dumb questions at the table. TTRPGs can be overwhelming, and especially with all of the mechanics, rules, storytelling elements, whether you're asking how to use a feature on your character sheet or clarifying the DM's description of a scene, your question is valid. So if you're ever not entirely sure about something, ask. Not giving the DM agency in your character's story. I get it. You've crafted this amazing backstory. Your character's personality is fully fleshed out, and you have big plans for where they're going. But here's the thing, some of the most memorable moments in tabletop games happen when you let your DM and your players take those ideas and run with them. Think of your backstory as a foundation for your character, Not the entire story, but just the beginning. When you give the DM some creative freedom with it, they can take the elements you've given them and build on them. They can introduce twists, bring in NPCs from your past, or tie your backstory into the main plot in ways that surprise you and truly set your character in the game world. So remember, tabletop games is a shared experience, and the best stories come from working together. Let the DM and the players and your party all together take some of those threads and see where they might lead. You might be surprised what you come up with when you work together. And the one last small thing that not enough players do that could truly improve how they play in their games is actually run a game themselves. I truly believe that everybody should at least run a game one time. Even if you never have plans of doing a long-term campaign or being a dungeon master in general, I think just getting that perspective just once at the table can show you so much as a player. It can give you all kinds of things to look out for and think of the next time you play, and gives you just a bunch of different kinds of perspective around how things might be going on behind the screen when you're on the playing end of it. And well, friends, that just about wraps up today's video. These are 15 easy to fall into mistakes that I think you should keep an eye out for when playing in your games. I'm curious what mistakes you've identified yourself or others making in the past, and what you now do differently. Leave a comment below letting me know. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, smack that subscribe button and bell notification, and help us hit the big 200, and join in and follow along for more as we continue to learn how to better run our games. Thanks guys, and we'll see you on the next one.